Hey, it's Naughty, and this is a review of the Eve mousepad. I think this is one of the best mousepads I've tried in a long time, and I really enjoy it. But I also think there are some serious flaws no one is talking about in the actual product itself. And then Eve not only has a history, but it's an ongoing history. Eve is doing things to harm the community. I'll even propose some solutions to what they can do to regain community trust. But first, let's just talk about the mousepad. The mousepad comes in a few sizes, and the one I have is 500 by 500. The pad has a relatively middle speed pad type of surface. This is considerably faster than the majority of pads you'll try. It's going to be slower than an O2 or a Heian, but it is quite a bit faster than a Zero. And it has some pretty unique characteristics, such as its static and dynamic friction are low, but its dynamic friction can dead stop, where the mouse will actually just dead stop instead of sliding. And that's a pretty nice feature if that's something you want or you value in your mouse pad. There are very few faster pads that can do this, which I think is why it primarily gets compared to the Zero. However, the Zero has a much easier time stopping because it's softer. And on that note, the foam quality on this is not bad, but it's relatively hard, and I would say it's below something like X-Ray pad. And I think if this pad was just a bit softer, this would be a much better pad just because of the push-in. The stitching is raised quite a bit. I wouldn't recommend it personally. It's just like it is soft and non-abrasive, but everyone who says you won't notice the stitching is bullshitting really hard. The next thing is the rubber base is the standard rubber base you see on most mouse pads, whether it be Inked Gaming, Pure Track, or uh, again X-Ray pad. So it's pretty standard. Um, so let's talk about two flaws with the pad, and the first one is the way it's packaged. The curling, as you can see, has these elevated parts of the pad where this is actually just air. Like it hasn't flattened out. I've had it almost a week. So that's pretty bad. They could fix this easily with like something like a flat pack. And then the other thing is it has an X and Y difference. I don't think this is an intentional thing. I think this is a defect. A lot of Cadora pads don't have an X and Y difference, but through factory defect do, and it's very hard to test for. So just know your surface will vary from person to person, and the majority of pads probably do have a similar defect. The MP510 doesn't have an X and Y difference, but the majority of MP510 mouse pads produced had that manufacturing difference. Same thing with other Cadora pads. This is just something to know. So don't be surprised if it doesn't match the description other people have given it. But let's go straight into some of the things that are bad about this pad. And most of it has to do with not only the defects, but also Eve as a company. Eve didn't really, it doesn't have a good track record when it comes to delivering products, which makes the fact that their website doesn't have a secure payment option and only offers credit or debit card payment options is a bad sign because it's generally much harder to charge back small purchases under $100. So if Eve wanted to send you nothing, they could. And Eve with the V tablet didn't send everyone who ordered it, or people who received damaged ones never received anything under warranty. And this is pretty well known. Eve has also censored these things, and the Spectrum monitor still isn't out. And they have not been providing refunds for the customers who have not received the product. And they even had like a window of time to do all this stuff in. But even now, ongoing history, Eve is harassing Reddits and subreddits as well as even like it just feels like Eve is going out of their way to get themselves banned from every public forum they can by being relentless and just a piece of shit company. GameSense almost got in trouble for this on Reddit, but GameSense, they manned up, they stopped doing this, but Eve is has continued to cause problems across different places. And that's just unexcusable behavior, even without their history. The next thing I'm going to talk about is say they do add secure payments, I still wouldn't recommend buying from their website because things like PayPal are still very 50-50. They're not generally in the consumer's like advantage or anything like that. So it's not like you're in a situation where it's fair necessarily. it's a lot more buyer-sided than people will let you know. Although PayPal normally does the right thing, it wouldn't matter. So I think the only way to really fix this problem would be something like they start selling through third-party retailers like Addisync, Max Gaming, Lethal Gaming Gear, iTalk Tech, because those one they can ship lots of them, and these places do have warehouses, so they can locally ship from your area, so you can get cheaper shipping, uh, and you pay a fair price, as well as they don't eat into their profit margin because they're selling more of them. Like they'll sell batches to these places, as well as you don't have to worry about getting scammed from a known retailer. I think all in all, the EvePad is fantastic. It's one of my favorite surfaces. I'll be maining it, but due to the defects, like this not right flat, I just it's really hard to recommend. Like I love the surface, but the pad itself is very low quality, and the company behind it is a fucking awful company. Like they're horrendous, and I just cannot in good faith recommend this mouse pad, even though this is probably my favorite surface I've ever tested.